Hey guys, I want to take a moment to kind of go over some of the issues that we had turning in earlier assignments. We've gone over all of these topics earlier in the semester, but I think a few people are still having a little bit of trouble. So based on the assignments you turned in, I wanted to put together a few little videos covering specific topics. You don't have to watch all of them, obviously, but if there is an area that you are having trouble with, do check it out to help you understand some of those. One of the issues we were having trouble with was determining the difference and stating our independent and our dependent variables. A lot of people kind of got these confused. They were naming their dependent variables as their independent and vice versa. So I just wanted to go through that's really important terminology. And this course is really all about learning the terminology and applying the terminology. Which you will definitely need once you get into doing your thesis or your dissertation proposals. So looking at our independent and our dependent variables. And just like the term says, where we have dependent, it's dependent on something. Independent is independent of something. So when we're doing a research study, a dependent variable is the variable that is going to change based on what we do with our independent variable. So for example, if I want to see the effect that hours of sleep have on a student, what I'm controlling, what I'm manipulating in my study is my independent variable. So let's say when I'm looking at studying students and the effect of sleep on students, say I want to do 3 groups. I want to have one group that gets 2 hours of sleep, one group that has 4 hours of sleep, and one group that has 8 hours of sleep. I'm looking for the effect that sleep has on their scores or their GPA, something like that, on their academic performance. So I'm looking to change the dependent variable, which is their academic performance, and I'm controlling how much time they're sleeping. That's the part I'm manipulating. So their independent variable is sleep, because that's the thing that I myself am changing and structuring to do this study, and I want to see what effect that has on academic performance, on their GPA, for example. So academic performance is dependent on sleep. The amount of sleep they're getting is not dependent on what their score is. Do you see how those two are kind of related? So another thing is an independent variable. So that's one situation. Another thing is an independent variable is usually something that cannot change. So if we want to see if there's, if race, for example, that's really more of a correlation, but say we want to look at race, for example, and income. So income can change, so that's our dependent variable. Race, however, or ethnicity does not change. So race in those situations is always going to be our independent variable. It doesn't change. How much money someone makes, for example, does change. So if we had data of all of the income in Jefferson County, in the Birmingham area, and we wanted to look at it by race or gender, we could break it down by race, and then race would be our independent variable, and income would be our dependent variable, and we can run a correlation to see if there's differences between those two. Or more fittingly, we could do a t-test between the two to see if there was a difference, and if the difference is significant. What that looks like when we do a study is, let's see if I can get this to work. These are not my slides, these are images I pulled somewhere else, so bear with me, they're a little cloudy. In using the idea of sleep as an independent variable, as we look at number 1, it says 2 hours of sleep, and number 2 has 10 hours of sleep. You can see that we're controlling that element of sleep. Group A is going to be submitted to the treatment of 2 hours sleep. Group B is going to be submitted to 10 hours of sleep. And our dependent variable here that they're looking at is reaction time. So a study that they're doing here might be if we're looking at someone driving, truckers driving perhaps, and we want to see what is the effect of sleep and how much sleep they get. How does that affect how quickly they react? Say there's an accident up ahead or there's some type of issue in the road. this could be what they're studying. They're looking at 2 hours of sleep and 10 hours of sleep and then measuring reaction time. So in this sense, the dependent variable, reaction time, is going to change based on how much sleep they get. Sleep is not going to change based on their reaction time. So sleep is what we're manipulating. It's our independent variable. Reaction time is dependent on how much sleep they get. So it's our dependent variable. So that's it for independent and dependent variables. There's also going to be a couple slides up here for experimental design, so please check those out.